everybody, and welcome back to our podcast, The Rest is Lean. And this is episode 4. Thank you so much for your comments, for getting involved, particularly thanks to those who have subscribed. That really means something to us. So, guys, as always, I'm joined by my good friends Alan Lothian, and down below is Russell Watkins, and we are 3 lean professionals, to give us some sort of title, who spent 25 plus years each working in the field of assisting companies, businesses, individuals to be better, slicker, think differently, just move forward with their journeys.
And now, ask us anything. Within reason, other caveats may apply.
We're going to start this episode with a quick chat about the comments that you guys have been sending in. So thank you, everybody who was kind enough to send us a thumbs up or a thank you for what we're doing, or please do more. Not so much to them who've said enough is enough, 3 episodes, let's stop it. One of the comments we had was from a guy called Keys Tannis. Hi, Keys. And Keys was asking, in the second episode, I made the suggestion, go out onto your shop floor and take photographs. Ask your business to take photographs of things they wouldn't like a client to have taken, so that you can discuss them and learn about yourselves. And Keys asked the question, would you be asking people to take photos anonymously, John? So I did reply direct to Keys, but what I have done in the past, if I'm doing this sort of thing with a senior team and saying to all the senior managers within the business, go away, take photos, bring them back, we're going to discuss, then they're sending them to me generally, and it is named because we are all going to get together and discuss them. So anonymity would rather ruin the game. I also said, quite often we'll spread that to a wider audience. If you're saying to your entire workforce, take photos, send them in, then that's more of a mixed bag. If they're sending it into somebody like me, who's external, then obviously it can be made anonymous really easily, and that probably does help to get some really interesting photos. And when it's not clear from the photo what they were alluding to, the external can go, hi, Bert. Shh, I know it's you. What did you mean by this? Can you give me a little bit of backstory? If you're doing it within your own business, then with a wider audience, maybe you want it completely anonymous to a dead email Dropbox. What's your opinion, guys? Have you done anything like that? Would you make it anonymous? It's almost like getting feedback questionnaires. Should they be anonymous? Should they not?
I think it was more to add to those good points from you, John. Forgive me, was it Keys or Keens?
Keys, Kees.
Okay, hi Keys. Thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. I think a lot of it has to depend on a case by case basis. So from an anonymity perspective, obviously you don't want it to get in the way of the purpose of creating the photograph in the first place, and that is to generate discussion with a potential outcome of improving what you've got. Okay, but obviously why I say a case by case basis, an example might be the business that you're working in. So if you're taking a picture within a factory and there are parts, you need to be mindful of people's IP. So obviously being mindful of it's only being shared internally as opposed to potentially going external. The other key one is to bear in mind people. So some people can be very, very sensitive, and rightly so, to having their pictures taken. If you're working in security industry or, say, Department of Defence, for example, things with a strong trade union relations, you have to be mindful of those of what you're taking. So just bear those things in mind. I think there has to be a level of control, but fundamentally understanding the intent of the photograph and making sure that's communicated to the workforce prior to taking the photograph.
Yeah.
If I think back to our industry forum days, I don't know whether you had this, but more often than not, before I took any photos, we would say, would you mind this, hi, I'm Alan, I'm from Industry Forum, we're conducting an improvement activity, blah, 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 blah. Would you mind if we take the photograph of this? And this is what we'll use it for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it gives them the opportunity to say yay or nay.
Yeah.
Okay. The second point on that is, I think I mentioned in the episode, is when you were mentioning it, John, is photographs as an opportunity to improve.
Yeah.
What I have used that in the past, I tend to do one good, one bad, or two good, two bad. All right. The reason why you can also celebrate some good examples.
Yeah.
And they are examples which you can then share current best practice with either other departments, or if you're part of a larger organization, you can share them with other factories within the group or the sector.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Keen's really good question, and hopefully you can send us some more in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to Alan's point on that, I've got to say I've never used that technique. I think it was subconscious rather than consciously. I've never used that technique in anywhere that's got ITAR or MOD stuff where, literally the product is kind of secret. But what you find is generally you can't have a camera or a phone in those environments anyway. And as I'm asking employees to take the photos, I never have to. So if they're able to, then it's not normally a problem. Anything from you on that one, Russell?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I agree with Alan, it's case by case. I think it depends on your culture. If you have a culture that's command and control and maybe people aren't comfortable, I might not go the photo route early because I think it creates a point of conflict. But I think photos are good. My general thing is I steer away from anonymity unless it's things like whistleblowing and that kind of thing when you need to have that in place. In terms of these are things I do like or don't like about our business, it'd be nice if we could own the observation. So you can then own it and you can express it and people know who to ask about what did you mean by that? But your culture has to support that a bit.
Yeah. Agreed.
And the respect for people bit. If we're taking photographs anonymously and secretly, that can be problematic. We have to respect, as Alan said, the people we're photographing. One final thing, a shout out to 2-second lean. One of the central tenets of 2-second lean is that people communicate. They make their little fix what bugs me improvements, and then they record a little video on WhatsApp or a photo on WhatsApp and share it amongst themselves. It's really good for showing people automatic Yokoten, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think it can be useful case by case.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much, guys. And so keep the comments coming in. We loving them. Email us, put comment in the video below. We'll put our contact details, including the email for the podcast, in the description below this podcast.
And just to add on that, John, so remember our comments are going global. So I've had one this month that's come all the way from South Africa.
Oh, nice.
So, and it was positive.
I was going to say somebody on a different continent is telling us to shut up and.
And we haven't got to worry about the watershed comments either. But so yeah, it's all good so far from my camp.
I had a comment off my wife, and she's very happy that I might start getting shredded. She's very encouraging on that front.
This is for those who are completely lost. This is now a back reference to the previous video. We recognised that our podcast has been grouped with all of the other fitness gurus podcasts because of our constant reference to lean. Or I just think because have you seen us? Ooh. Any road. Well, thanks for that, guys. Into the sort of meat of today, and today's sort of primer of a question. Last time I was talking about night shifts, and a sort of segue from that is I wanted to talk about shift starts or shift startups or start of shift and how it maybe is different to the rest of the shift, things that need to be done, and just start the conversation around there. Al, what sorts of thoughts does that bring for you? Start off shift.
Oh my word! Do you know what? I've got such a raw experience that
I've triggered him. I
just need to get this one off my chest, guys, and I just need to. I'm going to set the scene, if I may. All right, and I welcome both your thoughts, and then obviously anybody else's thoughts online afterwards. But so I mentioned in the previous episode that in the past month I've had the deep joy of a wonderful experience over in Australia. I was in Melbourne Airport waiting to check in with good old Qatar Airways. So we've obviously been into airports before. Go up to the check-in desk. The check-in desk has these huge TV screens with their visuals on there saying check-in open. So I wander up to the check-in desk and with a big beaming smile on my face, as I usually do, and greeted by this wonderful young gentleman who said, you'd like to check in, sir? I said, yes, I would, thank you. Okay, so I hand over the stuff, and he says, afraid we can't check you in, sir. I said, why is that? He says, because you're too early. And I said, too early? He says, yes, but your check-in desk says you're open. But that's for a different flight. Okay. So I then had to wait a number of hours before the check-in desk had to close and then reopen before I could check in properly. About half an hour to an hour before the pending check-in is about to reopen, the check-in screen comes on again and says check-in is open. So what do people naturally do? They start walking up and queuing up, ready to check in with all their baggage.
You thought it was open, didn't you?
It was open, all right? But there's no people at the check-in desks at this stage. It's just the visual. So the visual prompt is prompting people start queuing up. So because I'd got there early, they'd sort of mentioned to me that the check-in desk is likely to open around 8 o'clock, and this was around about 7:30. Okay. So people have got there, started queuing, and then you see, and this is what I'm getting to now, is the actual, what I can only describe as the equivalent of their shift handover. So there's the check-in desk, and they have their handover meeting before the team sit at their check-in desks and start the process. At this point, you've then got around, I would say, 100 to 125 people queuing up with all their luggage, okay? Bear in mind, you've got on there some less abled people as well that are waiting. You've got the special assistance people who are also passengers who are also waiting to board, okay? To check in rather. So the team then arrive from Qatar Airways and they start having their huddle or team brief, okay? But they're actually doing it at the check-in desks while the screens are still saying it's open with their backs to everybody queuing up.
Nice.
Okay? And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, what sort of subconscious message is that really sending to the customer? So I'm going to rock up. Your screen's telling me you're open. We're going to arrive. But actually, what we're now going to do is put our backs to you and then discuss whatever you discuss. I'm sure it's incredibly structured. Not for 5-10 minutes, 35 minutes.
Oh,
This is no word of a lie. 35 minutes, okay? 10 of those minutes was waiting for the team leader or check-in leader for that group to actually arrive, and the rest of the team are already stood there chattering away in a little huddle. He then arrives, he puts his back to the queuing passengers, and then they start for another 25 minutes. So all in all, you've then got 35 minutes. More passengers are queuing up because they see that the check-in is open. And I was just thinking to myself, what sort of message does that really send when the customer, all they want to do is check in and carry on either the start of their holiday, or for us, it was the end of our trip. Okay, it's that subliminal message. It says, if you've got to do a team brief, why don't you do it in a huddle behind the scenes and then come to the check-in desk when you're ready to proceed, when the process is about to start?
And don't make it 35 minutes either.
And don't make it 35 minutes. Yeah, exactly. And you had a lot of people there And you can sense it really struck a chord with me, this one.
No, really?
I'm starting to imagine that the meeting was so long, Alan, because there's conversations going now. If you look across my shoulder, there's a gingish fella. Now
Yes.
he's starting to look really. He's a lot redder than when I first saw him.
He's a scouser and he's usually high maintenance.
No, you, no, you.
Well, you know that you do it. You know, I stand out quite a bit because we're all sat down for the podcast. For those that don't know me, I am rather tall, and yes, I have got this brightly coloured hair, so I do tend to stand out. All right, and it was I think it was the body language I was using and the use of eye contact when they were turning around. So they, believe you me, they knew that I was watching intently for the full duration.
It's interesting now because it depends what the purpose of the meeting is, because the purpose of a starter shift huddle is to, it's a golden hour. It's to get you off to a first good hour so the rest of the shift is okay. Communicate change points, what might trip us up today. Is everybody up for it and looking okay? Any concerns for the shift? And who's on what? If that's the purpose of that, 35 minutes, they must have been talking other stuff as well. But to do it with
you can tell
with their backs to you is incredible.
But yeah, I just thought, the check-in process once it started was absolutely fine. Okay. But it was just something I wanted to get your guys' views on in terms of not necessarily the structure of the briefing they were doing, but how they went about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the ambiguity as well with the board signage, I guess. So I mean, firstly, John, we need to stop turning our backs at the start of these podcasts and talking amongst ourselves. He's clearly angry about this. Secondly, interestingly, Al, if the boards hadn't have been ambiguous and if they'd have had their backs not to you, would it have been as annoying?
Well, I don't think the board was ambiguous. The board it said exactly what it said in the tin. The visual management worked. It prompted a reaction, the right reaction. It's open. I'm gonna queue up ready. Yeah, but the process wasn't ready to begin. I suppose what I was asking of you guys is whether you feel the same way or whether or not there was something I've missed there. Am I just being a bit over?
No. I think I'd be pretty bitter about that situation as well. I very often speak to clients about their A surface. There's this expression in automotive particularly, and it's about the product actually, and it makes absolute sense, is if you're going to build a car, make it a pretty shape, paint it nice colours, but in terms of quality, and you want your customers to think your quality is superb, you've only got to get a few things right. Don't let it explode while they're driving out of the forecourt. And then put some money and effort into materials fit and finish on the A surfaces. And the A surface is the door handle. If it feels like it's made in a Christmas cracker shop, then your car is rubbish. That's because you touch it every single day. It's the first thing you touch. The roof panel cannot be wrinkly or badly painted because you look at it every single day. Same with the bonnet, but that's more from afar because you're admiring, look at my nice car. And then when you get inside, the quality of the handbrake handle, if you have one, the steering wheel, the gear stick knob, and the instruments and the way they look. Until you get out of the car and use the interior door handle again, the rest of the quality is definitely secondary.
Yeah.
And for a product like a car, that's really obvious. For a service industry, there are A surfaces. And for that airline, the door handle is, I went into the big building, probably impressed, it's an airport.
Yeah.
I went over and saw the nice screens. Ooh, I'm still not thinking that this is a chocolate fire guard. And then go up and I touch the very first thing. The door handle is that check-in, the check-in experience, how it feels, how it sounds, how it looks is the A surface. And they buggered it up, to put it politely. The next one is probably boarding, because after that, you're in a shopping mall, aren't you?
Exactly.
Yeah. And even the security bit in between, you probably associate more with Heathrow or Gatwick or wherever you are than you do with British Airways or Qatar or Ryanair or whatever else. You know, we associate that. We don't say, I hate this car. Have you seen the state of the fuel pumps you fill it up with? You make that.
Good
The
points.
optics that were all wrong.
Good points about quality, John. I like the A face thinking across to service. And you got me thinking about my own personal global quality index, which is trademark, by the way.
Damn, I was having it. What is it?
If anybody uses this, send me £1 for every time you talk about it. So my global quality index has been running for 10 years, and it's crap fridge magnets from overseas places I've been to.
Nice.
Now,
Mine's shot glasses, Russ.
no, fridge magnets, and I've spent hours wandering around the streets on 4 continents, looking at these souvenir shops, looking for a very specific defect in fridge magnets, which is misspelling.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh,
My 2 favorites are Croatia as Crotia and Lisbon as Libson. And I saw a Portugal as well for Portugal. Now, the index is that I no longer see spelling mistakes. I see shoddy painting. I see some bad face and sightseeing, rendering, and painting. But I no longer see spelling. So I think the overall global standard of fridge magnets has been rising over the past 10 years.
I like to think you've had a hand in that, Russ. Your selfless quest to raise standards in fridge magnets is something that most of us don't know that we're getting a benefit of.
John, I'm here to help. You know, I've dedicated my life to a secret global quality one-man crusade that nobody knows about. And you know, if you want to honor me for that, go ahead.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to dig through all the fridge magnets I've bought my mum and dad over recent years to see if I can find one with the mistakes. I also found the strength of the magnets as well on some of them are quite cool.
Yeah.
It's
I don't want to get you started, Russ. I don't want to get you started.
No, it's a painting now. But my mother-in-law got involved and started buying me fridge magnets. But she bought me tremendous fridge magnets. And I had to say to her, I don't want them. Thank you, but I don't want it. I'm not interested in strong fridge magnets. I'm interested in things that have defects because I want to understand. I like to. There is a broader point here. Our own learning to keep us learning. I like to find defects because I like to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my final thing for me is Qatar Airways overall.
Blind, is he still on about the airport?
I am. I'm going to finish it off because I've got to say, look, have a word with the check-in staff. The rest of the process, boarding on the aircraft, absolutely fantastic. But the check-in thing just really stuck in my throat. So sort it out, Qatar Airways, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully,
I think he's after free flights. You know.
Yeah, I know. I think that everything about Apple products is amazing. However, you know, they're very expensive, and I'd love to be able to promote them more. But
I've rarely enjoyed driving a Bugatti Veyron.
I had a Toyota Accent and it had 350k on the block, and it was still going. There you go. That was a cracker.
Right, I'm going to bring us back.
Oh, I've enjoyed it so much. Thank you for letting me have the rant, though, John. Thank you.
That's all right. We're here for you, Al. This is your therapy. I feel we've done some good. But just to bring us back to the start of shift briefings, if you like, and handovers and all the rest of it. I think Russell made a good point when he just, out of all of your rants, said 35 minutes. What's our experience been of good start of shift briefings, start of shift handovers? What do they look like when we think, oh, that's good? And how long are they? It's probably going to be very context dependent, but I'm really interested. Any experiences, guys?
I've actually done a lot of training of how to give a team brief. I stole the recipe from Toyota Group actually about 20 years ago, and I've honed it ever since. There is a 6-box structure for giving a good team brief. You know, it's a fascinating structure. And the six box structure, it starts with whoever's given the brief. It depends what brief you're talking about. If you're talking about team leader to team, then that's a 5 minute brief generally, depending on the size of the team and the area. But any more than 5 minutes is not necessary generally. Because if you have 10 people there, 10 people plus a team leader is 11 times 5 minutes is 55 minutes productivity loss.
Yeah.
It's not 55 minutes productivity loss if it's 5 minutes. That is invested in making sure the shift goes well.
Yeah.
But any minute over that is you start to eat up a lot more time. But I think it should start with outgoing person having a quick handover face to face with incoming person, assuming there's no shift gap. Ideally, a 10-minute stroll round so that the leader is turning up 15 minutes earlier for the shift. And then the six box structure. Do you want me to give you a quick bit on that?
Yeah. Great.
So the first box is preparation. So it's about deciding what are you going to brief. There's a kind of 7 plus or minus 2 rule here for the human mind. We can only really pay attention to 7 plus or minus 2 things. So you shouldn't be briefing any more than between 5 and 9 things. And I tend to like six maximum, because it's 7 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night. It's night shift. People are knackered. They're there. They can't remember a stack of stuff. You want them to stick with a key focus. So you prepare, you decide what you want to brief. It can't just be a grisly post-mortem yesterday because they were there and they lived that nightmare. It's got to be forward-looking, change point biased. What's going to affect a safety quality delivery? So that's box one, preparation. Then you gather the team in, greet them. Everybody's suited and booted. Nobody's got dilated pupils, honking a beer. Everybody's got the PPE, looks up for it. Checking that people who are normally up aren't down, or people who are normally subdued aren't different. You're looking for team members to follow up on. Gather and greet, start positive, and then you pass on your messages, whatever they are. Use physical props if possible, so you're not just talking. Then you confirm that the key message is understood with some kind of confirmation. Ask for any questions, any concerns, because if there's a hole in your plan, they know it. It's whether they'll tell you or not. And then wrap it up with not some kind of Hill Street Blues. This is box 6, not some kind of Hill Street Blues. Let's be careful out there. Vague, have a good shifting. Some key focus about, right, we had a flow out to the customer yesterday. Let's make sure that we don't have any of this type of defect today.
Yeah.
That's one
I like that.
recipe.
I like that. And I think that's something I might pinch a little bit of myself. It's, it resonates. It's the same sorts of things I would say, but I like the dropping it into those categories. My own experiences, the ones that I think have been good have been sub 10 minutes. Shorter, better, definitely, but realistically, sub 10 minutes. And also, some team briefs, well-intentionedly, do spend too much time on what has already happened.
Yes, backward looking,
and particularly where what happened was great. I'm all for the well done, folks, and let's all just take a moment to look at the amazing gadget that Bert's made that sorted us out last night. That's great, but a lot of team briefs tend to say, "Oh, we were supposed to do job ABC 1, 2, 3, and we did do job ABC 1, 2, 3, and the quality was nearly as good as we wanted, and the volume was good." And going through yesterday's checklist, when really you want to be going, yesterday was good. Highlight was this. Today, we're going to be trying to achieve this. And to your point, yeah, I'm a big fan of, and if there's nothing else we're thinking about whilst doing this today, other than where are oil leaks coming from on our machines? We've got a big push on TPM coming up. So I'd like everybody to just invest some time during the shift in identifying the locations and possible causes of oil leaks and email it to me. Or, we'll dedicate 2 minutes of tomorrow's brief where everybody just shouts in their thoughts. I think breaking it into those sort of 3 categories is good. And my last point is, we all love a good team board. We all love a good team screen, the visual aid. But change is good, and changing the location and having it. If you did have something really bad happen on the shift, and it was because Machine 6 spilled its guts, probably have the team brief in front of Machine 6.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the visual's there. And again, if it's a simple structure, you'll manage without the visual when you've got a prop that's far more important. Any other
100%.
thoughts on that one, Al?
I think you've probably said most of it, to be honest with you. I was thinking more along the lines of, I think, also being punctual, setting the right example that it happens at the same time every time, not necessarily in the same place every time, like you've just said, John. Yeah, which I totally agree with. I think the only key small addition I would make is obviously when we talk a lot about SQCDP or whatever, all right, is making sure the emphasis is always in that order, specifically around the safety. I think there should always be an element of a safety comment or a safety point with every team brief, just because it subconsciously sets the mindset moving forward within the business culture. I think the other one, from a team leader's perspective, is the challenge of keeping it around that 10-minute when you want it to be two-way conversation. And it's being able to communicate effectively, but also when you've got a willing and able team who also want to ask really good, and I'm saying really good quality questions now, okay, but also maybe siphoning off the ones that aren't quite so productive as well. We've all been there where you've got certain people who want to use that opportunity as a gripe and a moan.
Yeah.
So there's a lot on that team leader. There's a lot of development and training that goes around getting a strong team leader to manage those 10 minutes really effectively.
Yeah. The two-way part, I think, is critical. And as you say, in a short time frame, hard to manage and do effectively. Because I'm constantly telling team leaders, your team brief is one of your key opportunities to learn some bits and pieces about your people. You hear from them, I hope, and you start to learn about, to Russell's point, are they up, are they down, are they normally up, are they normally down, their attitude, their thoughts and ideas, who's the stars for the future. If I got run over tomorrow, who would I be making a phone call to saying, run the brief for me, will you? At the team brief is one of your opportunities to start to learn the answer to those sorts of questions.
I'm not sure. I'm
Okay.
I'm not sure I agree. I find the biggest problem is team leaders do it quickly. Because they've never been taught how to do it, and it takes a minute or 2 minutes. And it's everybody all right? Yeah, we had this yesterday. Usual stations, that kind of thing. I must have trained, I don't know, close to 200-300 team leaders now to do team briefs over the last 10 years, and they don't struggle to get it less than 5 minutes regularly, even with the two-way interaction. But it's not there as a massive talking shop. They're on their line anyway. They can develop relationships and see who's informally helping them anyway. So it's personal, isn't it? Because remember, it is still between 5 and 15 people tied up, and there's that golden hour part to it, in that if you get the shift off to a really good start and you have a good first hour plan versus actual people settling quick, the handover's good, then you are much more likely to have a good remaining 7 hours. If you have a rough hour where it's all a bit loose, the team brief goes on too long, then it seems to be harder to get back to a good shift after that. And then there is a broader piece here around the other meetings around it, the escalation meetings, the ops meeting, is there a group leader, cell leader meeting? It's a really interesting thing that's not talked about enough.
Yeah.
Just a quick question for both of you then. So obviously if you're with a team leader and you're developing that team leader to run an effective brief, obviously we all agree you're sort of setting the scene, you want it between 5 and 10 minutes, we say with that. Okay, there'll be a structure behind it. It's got to be two-way. Okay. Do you tend to allow longer as they're learning, or are you quite sharp in saying it's 10 minutes? If you don't get what you need to get through, tough. People are going back on the line, and you have to deal with that another way. How do you guys go about it?
I think it depends. If there's something really, really important, then like somebody has got hurt the previous day, then time becomes irrelevant a little bit for that particular instance. There's no, or there's been a major flow out to a customer that's got through all of our pokey oaks and our inspection, then a point needs to be made. And the fact that it goes longer makes a point. I think I'm very clear early on. We should be able to do this less than 5 minutes. And I want them to be aware of how long they're taking, because the first teaching is important. As the neural pathways are formed in the mind, if your first training for somebody says, look, it's all right to be a bit longer, then it's hard to unpick that neural pathway.
Yeah.
But you also can't be dictatorial. So I kind of lead it with them. I start with observe them and then give them feedback and try and lead them to a summary of their own team brief. And within that, a discussion of the length of time comes up.
I think once you get team leaders to the point where they truly own their areas, they're taking ownership, they're looking after them, they're doing what a team leader really should, then if they're really doing the job properly, they understand the value of getting the meeting done in 10 minutes, because they're losing production time. They're going to be trying to do it. And therefore, when it goes 15 minutes, they're doing the good stuff, because they must have had a reason, i.e., I can't let you go back until you understand this problem with the quality we had yesterday. And I need people to come back to me with ideas how to fix that, as we're going to have the same problem again, or a health and safety issue. Once your team leaders reach that standard, I hesitate to say it's irrelevant how long the team brief is, but it'll self-regulate, because they're balancing those two things.
Yeah.
When you're beginning, why are you doing a team brief? Because you told me to, John. Yeah. So I can't rely on you to keep it to 10 minutes because why are you doing everything? Because you told me to do it, John. Apparently it's a really good idea. And I have to use a red pen, don't I?
But that's a fail in the selling. That is selling know-how and not know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it?
This is a tool to get a thing done. Yeah. It's not, we don't sell team briefs.
No.
Yeah.
Team briefs aren't one of our products, and we're brilliant at them. The product's rubbish, but we're going to live forever because our team briefs are amazing. No.
If you want to have a good shift and less pain, this is a useful thing.
Yes.
It's top tip time.
So Al, we're going to round up in a minute, and we'll wrap up our discussion. But before we do you have a hint or a tip for this week that we can share with our viewers and listeners?
For this week. Yeah, actually, I want to keep it relevant to what we've been through the episode, really, just touching on what we talked about with regards to team briefs, and maybe on my little gripe that I had earlier on with our friends at the airport. First of all, from a team leader's perspective, preparation is key. Be mindful of the time that it takes to prepare effectively for a good team brief. Be mindful of your own time during the team brief. It is only going to be no more than 10 minutes. And don't forget the purpose of what the team brief is. And, that is, how are we going to ensure that today is a good day?
Yeah.
Also be mindful of the people around you. Know your team well. Look for changes in body language. Think about changes in circumstance. You will know your teams better than anybody in terms of whether they're on their A game today or slightly off.
Yeah.
Bear that in mind. And just persevere, because an effective team brief is a really, really powerful weapon in your arsenal to make sure that your working day goes as safely and as smoothly as possible.
Well, we're going to leave it there for this podcast, folks. But if you've enjoyed this content, then please subscribe to our channel to get your podcasts. Click the little bell notification icon so that you're always aware when the next one drops. And please give us a thumbs up, give us a comment in the description below, or email us at therestislean@gmail.com.